My name is Elena Krasnow. Welcome to Press Play, the StreetCred Podcast. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm the marketing manager at StreetCred PR and your host for today's show, along with managing partner and my co-host, Jimmy Moock. We will break down the show into two segments: Press, where we dive into all the hard news about our guest's life and their professional goals, and then Play, where we have a little extra fun with it. Today, Jimmy and I are so happy to be joined by the one and only Michael Batnick of Ritholtz Wealth Management. To give our listeners a little more background on Michael, Michael is managing partner at Ritholtz and has been with the firm for over 12 years. Prior to joining Ritholtz and becoming a founding partner, Michael had a career in life insurance sales. After following and deeply resonating with Josh Brown's blog and podcast for years, Michael and Josh met serendipitously at a train station in their hometown, and the rest is history. Michael is a chartered financial analyst who is passionate about helping clients achieve their financial goals and remains involved in overseeing client portfolios via Ritholtz's investment committee. He also writes the well-read newsletter and blog, The Irrelevant Investor, and co-hosts multiple popular industry shows, The Compound and Friends with Josh Brown and guests, Animal Spirits alongside Ben Carlson, and The Unlock, a recently launched show that is tailored specifically to the needs of financial advisors and also co-hosted by Josh Brown. Michael, welcome to the show.
What an intro. Thank you for having me. When you said prior to working at Ritholtz Wealth Management, I had no idea where you were going because there is no prior. So that was interesting.
I ripped it straight out of your bio on the Ritholtz website, I will shamelessly admit.
That's okay.
Welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for appearing with us.
I'm excited to be on here. Of course.
We're excited to have you. And if you've listened to the show, you know that we like to start off with a really deep, serious, important question, which is, what did you have for lunch today?
I didn't have lunch today. I was too busy, not to brag, no time for lunch. So yeah, I skipped it.
What is a normal go-to lunch when you're at the office? I know you got tons of places nearby. You guys are always posting amazing stuff on Instagram.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you mention it, I haven't thought about this. I don't think I eat lunch when I'm here.
Really?
I tend to pack my days in like a sardine. So I'm here every Thursday when we record TCAF, and I'm usually here another day, give or take, depending on the week. And I don't do lunch.
Wow.
Wow. All right. So we're not off to a great start.
That's how I keep my physique.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Skipping meals?
So the whole question, just for our listeners to understand the what's for lunch question.
Mm-hmm.
Think back to pre-COVID when you did go to the office every day. You'd see colleagues, coworkers, friends, maybe frenemies, who knows? And the common discussion you could have with everybody at the office when you saw them, especially between like 11 or 1, is, hey, what's for lunch? So I'm trying to give the question and the idea its just due, because I think for all of business across America, this question has got to be asked, millions of times per day? I don't know if there's a chart for that, but maybe we can look into it.
It's such a good point. The what's for lunch is a common theme in the office, but my life and so many other people's lives that are listening look nothing like it did prior to COVID.
Sure.
So I was in the office prior to COVID 5 days a week, and I was probably a 7 o'clock train guy. So let's say I was at my desk ready to work at 8:30. And by noon, I needed a break, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
Let's break up the day. I'm starving. What do you guys want to eat? Let's go.
Yep.
Chat it up. I'm back to work. But now I put my 2 boys on the bus at 8:15 and 8:30. And so I'm not in my office. I take a 9:08 train. I'm not getting here until 10. So to get here at 10, and then I'm just hitting my groove at 11, I don't have time to break. Like, I don't have the mental time. So I just don't have time to do that. And so I typically work through lunch. I'll eat some pistachios or whatever. Like, you know what? I like the little corn things. I don't know what those are called. Like, it's
corn
like
nuts?
corn. Yeah, exactly. Corn nuts. I'll eat a pack of those, but I'm drinking my pamplemousse and I'm just going straight through lunch until dinner.
All right. Well, hey, we learned something. Sorry about the dog crawling out from underneath my couch. I didn't even know that she was in here.
You never have to apologize for canine friends here, Jimmy.
Awesome.
Well, now that we've completed the nutritionist segment of the show, which was slightly lackluster, but that's okay. I'm sure you're having something amazing for dinner tonight, Michael. We really want to get into the full story about that fateful train station meeting with Josh and how that snowballed into, 12 plus years of working alongside him and Barry and the rest of the Ritholtz crew.
All right. So what can I tell you? You want me to tell you the story of how that happened?
Tell us the story.
Keep
All right.
all and please change the names as needed to protect the innocent.
Do you want me to give you the long answer or the short answer?
We've got about a 45-minute pod scheduled here via the notes. So
All right. A lot. The reason why I asked is because a lot had to go into that chance encounter. Like, man, where do I begin? So you said like prior to Ritholtz Wealth Management, and I was wondering where you were going with that because there was truly nothing prior to that. As you mentioned, I was in the life insurance industry and I was there for too long. That's because it was 2008 when I started and I had nowhere to go. So I was the last one in like my class of people. We were in a bullpen and I was the last one standing, not because I was so successful. It was the exact opposite. I had nowhere to go. Like it was, again, the GFC, nobody's hiring. Certainly
Right.
not a jackass without a resume who had no idea what anything was. And so I was struggling big time. And I was going to the library so I finally decided to quit in December 2010, I believe. And it was just an awful experience. I was paying rent to make matters worse.
Ugh.
And my eyelid was twitching for like 6 months. I couldn't sleep. I was all sorts of fucked up mentally just from having this horrendous job and nothing in front of me. Like there was nothing there was no fallback. There was nothing. I didn't have any friends or family that could get me into the industry. And all I wanted to do was be in the industry. The problem was I didn't even know what that meant. I was talking with a kid. Not yesterday. That was Father's Day. That would have been weird. On Friday. And it was a kid in the industry, and I'm thrilled to be able to have these conversations. I get emails from a lot of younger people, and I give them my phone number and I say, just call me, because I don't want to give general advice. I don't know who I'm talking to in an email.
Right.
And so I need to hear your voice. I need to hear your personality before I just say, I think you should do X, Y, and Z. And I want to be able to help. So tell me specifically, how can I help? What's on your mind? Be as specific as possible. And when the phone call started with this kid, he was trying to interview me, very much like what's happening now. And I was like, no offense. I don't want to tell you about my day job. I want to be able to help you. What is on your mind? And so I, like this young person that I spoke to, I didn't know how to ask for help because I didn't know what I wanted. And so when I was talking to people, what do you want to do? I want to be in the investment management business. Okay, well, that's great. What do you want to do? I don't know. What are my options? Like, that's how uninformed I was about the industry. And so I was unemployed for, I guess, a year and a half. And I was just going to the library every day. And I was applying to jobs and had some incredible near misses. One of the stories that I don't think I've told, maybe I have, was I was hired by E-Trade and I was so excited. Like, finally I met somebody. And I always had this weird belief in myself, almost irrational, that like things would be okay. I would be okay. I was laid back to a fault because things were not okay. It turns out yet that if you get kicked out of college twice, everything doesn't just fall into place. You actually have to do things to set yourself up for success, which I didn't do, clearly. And I paid the price for that.
Quick question. When you were offered the job with E-Trade, were you as into stocks as you are? You were, okay.
Yeah. So I thought that if somebody would just like give me a chance, that I can show them that I'm a hard worker, I'm coachable, I'm enthusiastic, I'm a team player. Like, I have good traits. I'm a people person, damn it. I just needed somebody to take a chance on me. And this person did. And he hired me at E-Trade. And I was going to be given a book of 300 accounts, And the job was to service the accounts, to, upsell and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And I was over the moon excited. I think the salary was like $70,000 or something like that, which I was after being unemployed for 2 years.
Yeah, that'll do.
I was like, I'm going to be rich. Like, I'm going to have enough money to do whatever I want to do. Let's go. And it turns out that when I was kicked out of college the second time, I was paying rent. So I was working at home full time as a waiter to be able to pay $400 a month for rent in Indiana. And so I was paying my rent. And it turns out that my jackass roommates destroyed the apartment and they didn't pay the bill.
Ugh.
And so that went on my credit report. I didn't even know about it. And the only reason why I'm sharing this is because when I was hired and they're doing their background check, I have a ding in my credit report. And I'm like trying to explain the situation. I'm like, I wasn't even living there. And so in that like 3-week period where they were like doing further checks, or I don't know what they were doing, the person that hired me left.
Oh,
And the new manager, brutal. And the new manager didn't want to meet me because he saw my resume and was like, I'm not hiring a cabana boy. What does this kid know? Like, that's what was on my resume: cabana boy, waiter, and all these other odd jobs that I had. And yeah, that could have been my career. If my roommates didn't trash my apartment, I would have gone down a very different avenue. And there are countless examples of that. And so fast forward, I was like, my last opportunity, and this is not even an opportunity, but my last potential chance for a job, I was interviewed by somebody at JetBlue, and it didn't go well. I spoke about like stocks and stuff, and he was like, "This is like a corporate finance job. I don't know what you're talking about." So I sat down. I sat down on the Knicks game, and as I'm sitting down, I got an email from this person, like, "Hey, sorry, Michael, can't help you." And at that point, I was really, really beyond lost. Like, it had been 2 years, and I just was sending my resume to anyone. And again, this is like 2011, so not a lot of people being hired in the financial world that didn't know anything. And so I'm like, all right, well, I guess like I'm gonna work in retail. I don't know. Maybe I'll just be a waiter full time and see what happens. Like, that's really where I was. And so I was at the Knicks game, and it's 2011, game 3. We're in the playoffs. I'm a lifelong diehard Knicks fan. We're in the playoffs against LeBron and the Heat. And in the third quarter, Mario Chalmers hit a shot. And if he didn't hit that shot, I probably would have stayed. At least I certainly would have missed the train that I met Josh on. But we were down like 21 points. And I said, that's it, I'm leaving. And this was like the end of the third quarter. My friend's like, where are you going? And I just, so had that email not come in before I sat down, I 100% would have stayed. If Mario Chalmers didn't make that shot, I would have stayed. And so all of the stars really had to align for me to be on that train that night. And so I don't know what Josh was doing in the city at that night, but Josh too. And then to like make the story even crazier, I'm on my phone and Josh is tweeting about how old we are because Kurt Cobain's daughter turned 18. And my phone, my BlackBerry, died as we're pulling into the Merrick train station. And had it not died, I 100% would have been on my phone and I would have walked right past him.
Right.
So my phone died. I put my phone in my pocket and I walked past him. Now, at this point, Josh was like my North Star because all of the things that he was writing about, I didn't know what an asshole he was, but at the time I really liked him. So at the time, Josh was absolutely my everything in the industry. Like, he was the person, if I could have worked for anyone, truly, it would have been him. And so I walked past him and I was like, oh my God. And I turned around and I tapped him on the shoulder and we spoke for 15 minutes. And that's how I met Josh. And then 6 months later, I saw that he was hiring. And so I threw my hat in the ring and that's how it happened.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He saved my life.
Quick comment, actually. So I was a former busboy, and then I became head busboy. Then I was a waiter once I turned 18. In your role right now, as Ritholtz looks to hire new people, do you ever look for that type of experience on resumes? I always do, only because The client is always right. You have to learn how to multitask. You decide how much you are going to earn by how much you hustle and serve the end client, even though they might be ordering chicken marsala and not, model portfolios and financial life guidance. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's such a great question. So I've hired a lot of people over the years, and I don't think I've ever looked at a resume, which I don't know. That's
I like
smart.
that answer too.
So I judge the person by the person. Like, who am I talking to? I know in 2 minutes if this person is a good fit or not. But if you were to give me two side-by-side resumes, Jimmy, to your point, 10 out of 10 times I take the person that has done the manual labor, the service roles, whether it's a valet parker or a caddy or a cabana boy or the waiter, all the jobs that I had done. Give me that person 10 out of 10 times over the Ivy League grad. No questions asked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or someone who just, before the world of tipping, but like a barista or an ice cream scooper, like to me, that person is literally working for the minimum wage. Whereas you as the cabana boy, you decided what Michael was able to earn on a Saturday, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. You can't buy that kind of wholesome experience.
All right. So note to listeners, if you are going to apply to Ritholtz, just ask for a conversation with Michael. Don't even have to apply or send in anything, right?
That's it.
He will not read your resume, said here. I love that story. Thank you for sharing, Michael. You're also a CFA and on the firm's investment committee, which oversees client portfolios. Why is it still so important to you to be close to this part of the work?
Oh, it's such a good question. We very strongly believe that in order to build a successful wealth management firm, the client has to have a successful outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really difficult to do that when the advisors are each doing their own thing. And it would be impossible for us to oversee 27 different investment strategies. We don't want the client outcome to be dictated by the advisor that they get paired up with. And so while it is on the advisor to take whatever the investment committee is deciding and then determine based on the client's personality, goals, etc., all that good stuff, it's up to the advisor to say, okay, I think this person should be allocated in this manner. But we're not going to let the advisor just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Very cool. Who else is on the investment committee at Ritholtz, just so our listeners can learn?
It's myself, Barry Ritholtz, Ben Carlson, Taylor Hollis, Blair Ducanay, and now Callie Cox.
What a lineup.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Very strong squad. Jimmy, you have a follow-up?
Yeah. So there is the asset management that you were just talking about to make sure all clients are being cared for in the same fashion. But then there is Michael and his play money account that any listener or viewer of the compound knows that you're often taking risks that might not align with the delivery of care that your clients receive. Talk a little bit about that.
That's a really good way of putting it. The delivery of care. Yes. No, I would not feel comfortable with anybody doing what I'm doing. So I love the game. I love the market. I find it endlessly entertaining, and I've got the gambling itch. And so what I'm doing with my stock selecting, it's like, let's say it's 49% gambling. I don't know. It's not all the way gambling. I'm not day trading. There's some thought involved. Doesn't mean it's not gambling, I guess. But I enjoy it. And to be honest, if I wasn't creating so much content, would I still be selecting individual stocks? I don't know. It's hard to say. So it's certainly part of it is for the content, but I do genuinely enjoy it. And I do it. So my 401k, like the money that I'm allocating every 2 weeks, that's invested in the same way that our clients' money is. But I do love, it's not a thrill. I want to describe it as a thrill. I do get a lot of enjoyment and satisfaction out of picking individual stocks. Do I think that I'm going to beat the market? Definitely not. Hopefully I don't get like destroyed. Like I'm not trying to lose, but I know the math. I know how hard it is to win.
Yeah.
So if I could trail it by, I don't know, if the market does 9 and I do 7.5, will I be upset? No,
When you were, think back to doing research for any one of your shows. Did you ever come across a stock during, and that was like the first time while you were doing research for either animal spirits or the TCAF or whatever, and then you found a stock and then had a pleasant experience because of it?
No, I stick to like brand name stocks. So I'm not investing in the only small cap stock that I own is IMAX. But outside of that, it's Amazon, Netflix, Schwab, Domino's, like McDonald's, Starbucks. Very, very boring. I think part of the theme, if you were looking at my portfolio, I like buying name brand stuff after they've gotten blown up.
Got it.
Like if you were to just analyze my portfolio, I think it looks a lot like that.
Because it's been beaten up and chances are they're going to go up.
Not necessarily. I mean, the data doesn't show that buying stocks in a drawdown is a necessarily profitable strategy, but I guess I just can't help myself.
My dad always used to tell me when I was younger and I was first getting into stocks, and they used to be in the newspaper, the Bucks County Courier, and I could follow Coca-Cola and see what it did. He'd say, it's not a bad strategy to always buy the publicly traded stuff that you find in your refrigerator. Yeah. Because that's always going to be around. But then I just heard you mention Domino's. I would never order Domino's, and the leftovers would never land in my fridge. Are you a customer of their pizza?
They do have gluten-free, for the record.
I am not a pizza snob. I'm not a food snob. The last time I had Domino's was in Minneapolis. It was the only restaurant that was open after the Giants game, and it took like an hour and a half, and the food was cold. And so no, I'm not a frequent of
totally
Domino's. However, a Domino's in New York City where it will be delivered to you not in 90 minutes. Yeah, I'll roll with Domino's. Why not?
Totally.
All right, to each his own.
Listen, I'm not going to get that over something better, but if somebody orders a pie at Domino's, I will not eat it.
Gotcha. All right. That's fair.
Their gluten-free isn't bad. I will say I've had it. Okay. So your intentional gambling has definitely left you with a lot of war stories, which certainly fuel some of the content that you create, or a lot of the content you create, which we're big fans of, the newsletter and the podcasts. What do you love most about communicating with your audiences through these different mediums? And you mentioned obviously the story with Josh, but how did that turn into you being this major content creator?
Yeah, it's funny. Like the amount that I talk into a microphone and into a keyboard does not resemble my personal life at all.
Like you're not that extroverted, you're more introverted, or what do you mean
I don't.
by that?
I'm pretty unfriendly. If somebody says hi, I'll talk to them, but I don't think I've ever said hello to somebody in my life. Like
what a statement.
If I'm just standing at even at the baseball game, like watching my son, I won't this sounds really bad. I don't socialize.
You're not talking to the other ball dads?
No, I'm not a small talk guy. I'm not like the most, I'm not a chatty Cathy, but I do like talking into a microphone. Why? I don't know where that comes from. Maybe being the youngest of three and always feeling like I had the smallest voice, and so I had to shout to get heard. I don't know, but I do. So what's my favorite part of it? I just like being in the mix. I'm not really sure. I enjoy every bit about it. I enjoy interacting with the audience. I have fun talking with Josh and Ben. I love almost everything about it.
When you have a known Wall Street veteran, investing veteran on the show, and you're prepping for it, do you ever think to yourself, all right, I'm going to attack her or his stance? Or are you trying to find the things that you agree with in their thesis and bring that out onto the show?
I'm never trying to embarrass anyone, but if there are guests that we have that have a particular beat that I really disagree with, I'll try and talk about it and disagree respectfully, but I'm never looking for somebody to leave and be like, what a fucking asshole. I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
I think you do a good job of challenging your guests, but not to the degree where they wouldn't want to return to the show.
Yeah. And also, if I disagree with somebody that much, to the point where like I would almost not be able to control myself, they probably wouldn't be invited on.
Right. It's not meant to be a wrestling match.
Now, one of my strengths, not to brag, is that I'm able to disagree with people and not completely write them off. And I think that's one of like the worst things about the internet and our current culture.
Definitely.
Is, did you see what that person said? I'm never listening to anything they ever say again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe some of that comes from like, I'm sensitive to this because I talk into a microphone for 4 hours a week and I say stupid shit all the time. I'll listen to myself and cringe or be like, well, that was dumb. And so I understand that knee-jerk reaction from people that don't talk into a microphone every day. So I think I'm a little bit more sympathetic. But yeah, I think it's healthy to disagree with people. I don't think that there's anybody that you should listen to where you say, I agree with everything that person says. Because how could that be possible? You got to disagree with some things. And so if somebody says something that I disagree with, I don't write them off forever.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a strength, especially in the day of the internet today. What is unique about The Unlock, the show that you and Josh just launched? What are you excited about?
I'm so excited for this. We spend so much time talking about the market and the economy and all of our different packaging programming. It's like Mexican food, right? It's all like the same ingredients, but like, do you want it deep fried? Do you want it in a quesadilla or an enchilada? And I love enchiladas, but it's all the same ingredients.
Should have one of them for lunch.
Well, he doesn't eat lunch, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy, come on, pay attention. But we don't really talk about our day job that much at all. And we actually like do this for a living. And just thinking about this has me so excited. I feel like I have a lot to say. I have a lot to share about the state of the industry, trends that I'm seeing, and I'm excited to be able to communicate directly to an advisor audience.
Yeah. Are you going to have a lot of guests, or is it more of just you and Josh shooting the shit?
Yeah, we're still figuring out the formatting. So more to come there.
Cool.
Awesome. Do you think that your audience of various Ritholtz and compound programming, are they just as interested in practice management type stuff and fintechs as they are about your approach and thoughts on the markets, or you haven't thought that through yet?
We'll find out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think what I'm excited to do is a lot of the publications out there, and there's some very good ones, are mostly journalists or reporters. And it's not people inside of the industry. So I think to be able to hear, and there certainly are people in our industry that cover it, but to be able to hear from us who have built a large audience, built a successful business, certainly have learned some mistakes along the way. I'm excited to share that.
Very cool. Can't wait to see more of it.
Yeah, we're
assuming I get approved.
So since this is a podcast that is at its heart about public relations, tell us about your most memorable interaction with the media. And we welcome your PR horror stories as well, if you have them.
Yeah, you know what, Jimmy, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really do a lot of media, traditional media, right? I don't think I'm very good at it. I don't think I get a lot out of it. I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I get anxiety. So I don't think that there's anything that I can point to because I don't do TV. I don't talk to reporters very often. I have enough ways to communicate with the audience where I can control the message and feel comfortable and not have to answer questions that I don't like. So I'm thrilled that I have a platform where I don't have to rely on the media to distribute my message.
Yeah.
So one thing comes to mind, which I thought was hilarious. I guess it was not this past January, but the January before. It's maybe towards the end of Christmas break. And I think you slacked me and said, hey, I'm going to be putting out a top 10 things to expect for next year. Just wanted you to know. And that thing absolutely blew up because you had reporters coming into you from every nook and cranny of the universe. Because I think one of them was what Bezos goes back to Amazon, right?
Yeah.
And for our listeners who might have missed it, because I sense you might have tried to bury that. Maybe you owned up to it once. Was that really your idea?
No, it was Ben's.
It was Ben's. Okay.
Yeah, it was Ben's. Hold on. I have to correct the record. Jimmy, I love you. You could correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to say that there's like a 25% chance that I actually gave you a heads up that I was writing that. There's no way I would give you a heads up. Did I?
No. All right. You're right. I found it. You're right. You're right. Okay. I saw it. I saw a story and I slacked it to you and I'm like, hey, what's up with this?
Yeah. Sorry. Actually, Jimmy, how many times have I reached out to you and I said, hey, I'm writing this, heads up? It's almost always like the opposite, right? I probably don't talk to you as much as I should.
I would agree. And speaking of which, well, this is totally not connected. I did write this down. Here's the proof that I wanted to get, and maybe we should have asked this a little bit earlier during your job interviewing prowess. But tell me about being punctual and the onus you put on the person that you're communicating with when it comes to if like you were to send them a text or call them on a cell phone. Like talk a little bit about the expectations and how quickly someone should get back to you.
All right. There's a fine line. Actually, so this is not where you're going, but I'm going to say this part first. There's a fine line between being punctual and on time and being too early, which I find even almost more obnoxious than being late. Because if somebody's late, 9 times out of 10, they will let you know, hey, I apologize. For whatever reason, I'm running 10 minutes behind. Okay, no problem. It happens. Yeah. If somebody shows up 40 minutes early.
Oh no.
Right now, I don't know if I know for a fact that I've seen people show up 30 minutes early. It's like, but I told you to come at 1. I didn't tell you to come at 12:30. So now I have to feel like I'm doing something wrong when I'm just doing what I should be doing and watching you sit out there. So that's the other side of it, which is a big no-no in my book. All right, being punctual. Yeah, listen, I operate with a certain speed and a certain intensity. And I'm not saying that this is right or that everybody should behave the way that I behave, but I take my job seriously. And I expect people that I work with to operate in the same manner. And so if somebody reaches out to me and I respond fairly quickly, I expect them to respond fairly quickly back to me. And Jimmy, I think where you're going with this is I had a young person reach out to me last Saturday at 10 a.m. and just asked I can't remember what exactly they asked, but it was just like a career advice type of email.
And I said,
email. And I said, hey, Jeff, not his name. Happy to chat. Call me anytime. Here's my cell phone number. So that was Saturday at 10. He responded. He emailed. I responded within an hour. And then he didn't get back to me until Monday at like 3.
Woof.
And so, listen, is it the end of the world? No. But if I was in his shoes and somebody that I was reaching out to who I respected offered me their cell phone number, I would respond immediately.
Totally.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk to you. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that this is black or white. I'm sorry. I don't think there's any gray here. I think this is black or white. Now I got a bunch of people people emailing me like, because I spoke about this on the podcast. Well, give the kid a break. It was a Saturday. He probably didn't want to bother you. He emailed me on Saturday. What do you mean? He emailed me on Saturday.
And you emailed him back on a Saturday.
I emailed him back. So that should tell him the pace with which I operate. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that the way that I do things is always the right way to do them, but that's how I operate.
I would love, I'm like imagining someone showing up a half hour early and sitting on the couch in your lobby. And then you're still in your office right there, like just like peeking at them.
Yeah. I sighed it. I have steam coming out of my head. I'm so mad.
It kind of reminds me of the pod we did with Emily Binder talking about the parallels between business and dating and how that's just so desperate to be there that early. It's complete repellent.
It's
Yeah.
odd. I don't know like what the right terminology, whether it's desperate or whatever. It's just odd. Who does that?
Yeah, yeah. Makes you wonder what else they got going on with their day.
Yeah. So you didn't ask, but I take hiring very seriously and the culture here very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing to me, and as I'm saying this, I never really ranked anything, so maybe this is a bit hyperbolic, but it's at least the top three most important thing for me is I never want to look at my Slack and go, oh, what does this guy want?
A
I
good way to
never,
put it.
I never want to be in that position. And
Yeah.
so I'm not looking at resumes to make that decision, but it's a feel like you know who a good person is when you speak with them.
Mm-hmm.
You actually once told a reporter, and we have stolen this from you. I think the term or the saying was, if it's not a unanimous yes between the hiring team or the committee, then it's a no.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Does that still ring true there?
Yeah. So the, not to nitpick, but the phrase is, if it's not an obvious yes, it's a no. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, I'm not an advisor. My clients are the advisors and the employees here. And part of my responsibility is to make sure that they're happy. And the trust that we've earned over the last 10 plus years is not something that we take for granted. It's not permanent, right? It's fragile and we have to continue to earn that trust every day. And if you bring in somebody who is not up to par with our team, they could start side-eyeing you really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I want to make sure that we're never in a position where we add somebody where everybody here doesn't immediately feel like what an amazing hire that was. I'm so glad we brought this person in.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Michael.
So in just
Thank
a few
you.
months, we're going to be back in Huntington Beach for, you know what, Future Proof Fest. What's your favorite moment about Future Proof to date?
Future Proof is incredible for me and for everyone who goes, but for me personally, it goes so fast.
Oh my gosh, like lightning speed.
Like it really is dizzying how quickly it goes. So I don't know that I have a great like answer for you, but I get so fired up thinking about it. It's such an incredible opportunity to be with your peers and just the palpable enthusiasm and excitement that's there. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to be a part of it.
Can't wait to get back to Huntington Beach.
Likewise.
I have a rough week before that. I am going to Morgantown. I graduated from West Virginia for the rematch between Penn State and the Mountaineers. Last September, it was at Happy Valley. Now it's in Morgantown. I'm going with 10 of my closest friends from high school and college. So
Sounds like a bachelor party.
yeah, I still might be a little bit tired come Future Proofed.
Rest in peace to your liver.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh goodness. Sweet. All right. It's time for our second segment. Let's do some play. This is sort of a pseudo rapid fire segment, Michael. But what's been your favorite book that you've read this year, or a book you'd recommend to everyone? I don't know if you know that we have this in common, but I am also a huge bookworm. Tell me about it.
I feel terrible that my book reading is essentially non-existent. And
You read Kyla's book, right?
I did
Kyla's
read her book. It was excellent.
That was a good interview.
Thank you. I love reading. So it's something I used to do, but I used to read a lot. And I don't think that my schedule allows it as much as it used to. And the real answer is like, listen, you find time for what's important to you. I get it. Right. So if I really, really wanted to read, I would make time for it. But given that I work so much, and the last thing I want to do when I have a second is to exert more mental energy.
That's fair.
And so while reading a book could just be like, there's nothing like it. Like movies are not the same as books. TV shows are not the same as books. But I really, at the end of the day, like I like to just turn my brain off a little bit.
That's fair.
Because I tend to be pretty exhausted at the end of the day. So I don't have a good answer for you, but I've got a lot of books piling up that I hopefully one day will get to.
Do you have an all-time favorite book?
Ooh. I feel like the all-time favorite book has to be fiction. The problem is I'm a
Please.
nonfiction. I'm a nonfiction person.
That's fine.
What's your favorite book of all time?
That's a really good question. I have The Overstory by Richard Powers is one of my favorite fiction books of all time. All About Love by Bell Hooks is one of my favorite nonfiction books of all time. My favorite book I've read this year might be The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, which is a really fun book for folks who like to write and create content. You might like that one, Michael. But I don't know. I read probably like 30 to 50 books a year. It's hard to keep track. I saw a little meme recently that was like, we need to normalize saying that you love a book and not remembering anything about it, because that's definitely me sometimes, where I'm like, I'm just taking in so much content. A book I read 3 years ago is a mystery to me now, but I'll know that I loved it.
So there's a book that I love that I think they were supposed to make it into a movie. And I just Googled it because I can't remember exactly what it was about. But it's called The Last Days of Night by Graham Moore.
Oh, haven't read it.
And let's see, it's about a world of invention and skullduggery. I don't know what that word means. Populated by the likes of Edison, Westinghouse, and Tesla. It was really good. It's it's a historical fiction. The Last Days of Night. It was excellent.
Love it.
I would suggest Forever by Pete Hamill, who used to be a New York City writer. I think he wrote for the New Yorker. I think he wrote for the Post. It's a story about a young Irish boy who witnesses his parents' murder and then follows the culprit to New York when it was, this is in the 1800s. And you can guess how long he lives in order to seek revenge. It's amazing. Awesome, fun story.
Yeah, there really is nothing like a good book. I feel sad that I haven't read as much as I would like to, but
I can understand your reasoning though, too.
Yeah.
All right. If it weren't financial services, what do you think you'd be doing?
And not a cabana boy either. So what did young Michael dream of being when he was growing up?
Yeah. I was a big NBA data guy. So I had the physical almanacs before the internet. And I used to be really, really, really good at NBA trivia. It's been a while since I've exercised those muscles, but I don't know. I think I would have loved to have done something in sports data, but the problem is I'm not really that smart with numbers, so that would have been challenging. But I feel like
I don't know if I can quite believe that statement given your career choice, but what do you do for fun?
Work. I was at my beach club yesterday, and somebody said to me well, they were talking about their job. They're like, you're really lucky that you like what you do. And I'm lucky doesn't do it justice, given where I came from in terms of my career trajectory. Sometimes work feels like work. But I am beyond blessed that I love what I do. I love the people that we serve and help. I love the actual work. I love everything about it. And so, the lines between my work and my life they're not blurred. They've completely disappeared. So I'm not a work-life balance person. Although I don't want to say that I think I am a pretty good partner, husband. I'm still certainly around all the time, but I'm doing a lot. My pace is pretty frenetic.
Yeah. But a lot of your work does seem like a lot of fun, especially the pods and hanging with the people that you love to work with and vibe with.
I think it is a lot of fun. Truly outside of work, I love to go to the movies. So
I was debating whether or not we should have a movie question on here because Elena, Michael seems to find some off the beaten track movies that he offers reviews to from time to time. And you like gory horror movies too.
Oh, I love horror movies.
I really do. Yeah.
I don't think there's a horror movie that I can't watch.
All right. I apologize. Don't get mad at me if you decide to watch this, but Speak No Evil. Have you seen that one?
I don't think I have.
Okay.
I'm gonna
It's
write
like
that down.
it's like hardcore. And so it's deeply upsetting. So with that warning out of the way,
Hardcore psychological, hardcore
it
blood
hurts.
violence.
No, it's so there's really only one scene has blood, I think.
Okay.
But it's torturous.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the bloody scene
Sounds
is not
great.
it's not physical torture, but it is painful
Yeah.
in a good way. They're
Any-
actually
any-
they're making a remake. They're making so it's a I think it's Swedish. I think they're making a English version that's coming out, I think, this summer.
Okay.
So you watched it with subtitles?
Yeah.
Mm,
Big subtitles guy.
okay. My boyfriend does not do subtitles, so I'll have to figure out a way to convince him to watch it with me. We like to close out our show with a moment of gratitude, Michael. Give a shout out to someone in the industry you admire, someone on your team, someone who you think might be listening.
I have so much gratitude. Gratitude for days. Who do I give my gratitude to? Callie Cox. She officially, well, she started last week, but we announced it to the world today. I am beyond excited, grateful, all the good words that she chose to join us, because her options were many. And the fact that we get to attract amazing people like her gives me an incredible amount of pride and joy.
Awesome answer.
We're really excited for her to join your team too.
Yeah, she's great.
Seems like a great fit from everything I've seen from both of you guys online in the last couple of years.
Yeah, she's the epitome of an obvious yes.
Yeah, totally. Love it. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us on today's show. To our listeners, we hope you learned something new and really enjoyed hearing Michael's story as much as we did. Be sure to write us via email at pressplay@streetcredpr.com to tell us what you think, ask us any questions, suggest any guests, or even tell us what you had for lunch today. Thanks again for tuning in, and we can't wait to introduce you to our next guest. Bye.